Advantage 1 is sovereignty. Pakistan instability escalate goes nuclear. It's one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the world. It's pin 9. Pakistan is now in the edge of violent chaos with nuclear weapons in the middle of one of the most dangerous neighborhoods. Pakistan has been turmoil run by a shaky government, large fundamental population. All this while the South will stand off with the integrating potential crack open the gates of hell. The Taliban made a military push in the northwest region. Pakistan and collapse fears. A real senior American officials are concerned to shake Pakistan spells trouble of Iraq, lose the foot, risk secure weapons, nuclear army could galvanize into action, asking nuclear China and Russia to lose things so they see terror world on collision course. And Pakistan nukes are not secure. That's Gregory. 11. Safety and security may be compromised. Safeguarding country weapons significantly greater chance because reality required weapons such as special location tapped to the complex requirements. 70. Those people in Pakistan have access to or knowledge of Pakistan nuclear weapons. The Pakistan vulnerability as well as the physical security weapons among 70,000 people with access may be willing to continue terrorist threat. Extend beyond terrorist getting access to complete and viable nuclear weapons. The ability to counter arguments seriously on modern Pakistan militaries penetrating army internal headquarters, small dailies, add up to the virtual root features between the arguments Pakistan will consume such a mass time proximity level of knowledge. Point 2. High level terrorist not possible location of all Pakistan nuclear weapons remain unknown. Cell image shows 3 potential market estimations available on lines of knowledge. Nuclear weapon sources share stairs capable of penetrating even the most securely defended bases as number rise in security challenge multiple odds of Pakistan security will be compromised continues to rise, and U.S. drones against Pakistan violate Pakistan sovereignty causes instability undermines Pakistan government stability as well. In 13. Building capacity of states like Pakistan is crucial. Central governments need to be seen as legitimate. The population escalation drone strikes to current tempo contradicts American boosts and legitimacy. Government drones have political effects with the government sentiment legitimately enter the ranks. Popular perception of government's powerless can be crippling and avoid the domestic challenges to the violence political cross kind of protective creating credibility of Americans don't listen violence territory opinions powerless of scores to the Pakistan government political offensive powerful acting expansion of drone warfare place pressure on Pakistan complicit with the U.S. Pakistan more divided on stable first Pakistan not embracing mass pressure from popular hostility. Drone strikes 74% of Pakistan is considered the U.S. and enemy to program has pulled over corrupt drone strikes here and cost many U.S. widely hated when the Pakistan jeopardized support program does not building capacity on the Pakistan state U.S.-Pakistan relationship is riddled with hypocrisy. U.S. silence Pakistan government drones to building capacity with aid while Pakistan government cheers drone strike kill enemies. The rest of the U.S. or the rest of strike has for more looser corruption to reveal loss of the population hard win. Drone strikes sideline the government single U.S. company Pakistan's worst trouble Pakistan government third drone strikes undermine the central government to be critical matter for low these trouble population. Second strike even the Ukraine crisis Pakistan never fails close control of territory. Many networks produce efforts to restore terrorism and ending. And the pledge shifts to CIA to focus the intel key to drone effectiveness. Anderson 13. The CIA would have pulled out a drone for the CIA would frequently focus on intel, which had the economic backseat burner just shift away from counterterrorism, re-emphasizing touching mission firing and missiles. The last time in the long leaving intel in Pakistan, the effective drone reference manufacturing front end intel drones are not useful for one to searching for the intelligence gaps at the front end and reliance on human intelligence and over reliance on drones causes a failed policy to Schwartz. In 13. Counterterrorism experts agree terrorists are really defeated militarily and instead fade away with loose bars, relies on heavily doing around terrorist ability to connect force really invention work over reliance expensive other approaches can be dangerous strikes increasing regional instability anti-American sentiments involving critical reliance the have treated technical gains strategic losses or recruiting terrorist sites that will kill them. There's little on drone post and comprehensive assessment as opposed to straight line determination and CIA drone strikes in Yemen are continuing to increase. There's no end in sight. Mazzetti land in 13. After Garrett told Pakistan, the U.S. was planning down drone warfare, watching contradiction administration to the bulk of drone which shifts to the Pentagon. CIA needs to run American secret war in Pakistan. There's nothing that indicates administration unilaterally going to end drone strikes in Pakistan. Saudi government allows CIA to build ways on the condition Obama would acknowledge it. Given the long-standing sensitivities about American troops, Saudi government is unlikely to allow the Pentagon to take over operation the base over the U.S. East week couple of days base similar military official in Pakistan considered drone strikes in the condition Washington does not discuss them publicly and shifting authority to DOD is the only way to enable congressional oversight that makes foreign policy objective more clear. Zanko 13. Target killings are needlessly opaque by division between JSOC and CIA drone strike targets on people organization different oversight. JSOC got by teletype made publicly available military document and JSOC organization acknowledged by the government foreign relations committees were currently hearing drone strikes that have been not oversight should be expanded to policy consistent with the objectives that only accomplished by DOD operation because committees cannot hold the hearings and CIA executive authority. DOD would eliminate deniability of U.S. corporate because CIA drone strikes not being allowed you as the city communication to Pakistan more for Pakistan military take advantage of communication back by shifting police civilian catches caused by air strikes. This perpetuates the animosity and plan. The United States federal government should statutorily restrict funding for drone-based targeted killing strikes carried out under Title 50 enforce the restrictions to budgetary watchdog organizations and adventurous Hezbollah terrorism, nuclear terrorism, extremely likely to dash ball and tall. Ignore nuclear terrorism is prudent in policy. Incumbent with terrorists to enter fiscal material does not limit nuclear terrorism. As an example, does not offer the assertion terrorism amount to remain immense. One should not miscalculate transnational terrorist groups requiring nuclear material producing capabilities huge amounts of nuclear material around the globe enough to build 100,000 nuclear bombs for assertion net who security in stable regions and echoes a nuclear war the states instead. Nuclear states with thousands of nukes that dispels of nuclear terrorism could lead to massive change in nuclear officer suspicion which shift to nuclear state possession. The act of nuclear terrorism occurred against national Washington relation with Russia and China would leaders would not be tempted to assume the worst confusion during the immediate aftermath of Moscow. China might read the decided the U.S. intention to use nuclear against the temptation to preempt such action might grow, and also warned Lebanon would go global nuclear Sterling 11. Third Lebanon war is apt to involve doubling day quickly. It will be use it or lose them, start to use it against Israel's nuke, wars against your population, Iranian prepared to launch global advanced biological warfare terrorism against the Middle East. Also, homelands utilize DNA recapitulation based on genetically engineered superkiller viruses designed to spread themselves throughout the world using humans as vectors. This ultimate Israeli trigger point cause a Russian-Chinese response that would begin World War III. The Third World War fought with 21st century weapon will be Armageddon, and currently Hezbollah attacks are increasing to become more deadly. Quran 13. Hezbollah is a terrorist group. Hezbollah has been increasing terror attacks on the West, Israel, Asia, Europe. Hezbollah will turn the balance even more while directing blame toward Israel that could spark military competition. Yes, desperately needs to share its position in the Middle East and develop its real strategy to prevent extremists. And Hezbollah is an extremely effective organization that can execute in multiple scenarios leading to nuclear terrorism with Al-Sin 4. Hezbollah active powerful in the Middle East. Hezbollah, the A-team shares an organization with the wild world president. Hezbollah is a kind of far more evil organization. It only matter of time before mega technical files follows or any connection to Iran created. Hezbollah is a proxy for against related gives the group training. What it's exposed to another possibilities. One group for Hezbollah could be the move to a nuclear terror groups military operation strike out, preventing the good spur, destruction. Hezbollah imagine first Al-Qaeda. Hezbollah could adopt Al-Qaeda's more radical agenda with unrivaled technical air expertise. Hezbollah reposition, escalation, nuclear terrorism, and additionally Hezbollah weapons transfers caused third Lebanon war. It's embedded military infrastructure throughout the country. This is Iran in 13. Hezbollah's effort to transfer weapons to place the country in Hezbollah has embedded military infrastructure in towns all throughout the country. Goes through began by attack one such convoy in Syria. Hezbollah may succeed in bringing another convoy across the border. This will prompt another strike. General Nasrallah declared that Israel striking against Lebanon may to be met with retaliation against Israel's infrastructure. Nasrallah strikes are unlikely to alter Israel's calculation. Hezbollah will attempt to bring in more weapons to Israel striking Lebanon is a matter of time. And CIA focused on targeted killing trades off of combating Hezbollah. The CIA needs to shift its focus, says Fisher 11. Hezbollah unrivaled CIA mission Lebanon and shut down the agency operation instead of intelligence agency positing in Lebanon has been decades one of the most highly valued houses the CIA maneuver power. One of its old defaults to CIA forces, Germany culture, CIA, South CIA. Counterintelligence taking a backseat to killing terrorists and once essential skills been eroded. The agency shifted from operative routes by finding terrorist search cafe offer that growing emphasis on finding targets over finding information over expanding around wrapping up drone strikes in Pakistan to lose its focusing on Hezbollah may be a return to CIA policy agency obsessed with finding terror. Other skills go undeveloped and other threats go under address mission of intelligence organization. Intelligence national threat black guys should also leave the U.S. more vulnerable to Hezbollah agencies embarrassment in Lebanon so that said emphasize paramilitary shot counterterrorism with expensive spy counter. At some point the CIA will have to decide what Al-Qaeda related groups really outweigh those threats and Hezbollah is vulnerable to spying but the CIA has to focus more on espionage operation in order to disrupt the organization of Smith 11. Contrary to its reputation, Hezbollah may be vulnerable to hostile clandestine services organization, espionage, and so he fears this organization powers Hezbollah. It's worth CIA may have blundered yet no one knows the parameters in Lebanon. All we know for certain is the timing's bad for Hezbollah and creating effective intelligence gathering is key to stop weapons transfers that's right down 12. Syria's lethal arsenal weapons stopping them from falling into terrorist hands would be our top intelligence priority. The key to stopping Hezbollah gaining control of cache is going good. Real-time national intelligence collection on Syria is a formidable challenge. The U.S. needs to be ready and lack of GAO access stunts congressional capabilities to promote a revolution in intelligence. Robert said on 11. The CIA refuses to supply information to GAO. The reduce the scope of the legislative involvement in the Intel Committee. The correctional impact has been reduced. And we face a starting environment requires the intellectual structure, agile, flexible, adaptive, and the conclusions. And we have a vision of where we need to go, but not the legislative bias, which should move beyond the half measure of intelligence reform. And GAO enforcement improves intelligence quality. This Walker and 7. The benefits GAO can provide the Intel Committee would be significant. GAO is capable of reform the team set the experience in examining many other government agencies for programs such as human capital, info, tech architecture, assessment. GAO's long-standing work security issue. GAO work results in major improvements in efficiencies. Government operation GAO is through reforming extensive domestic fields across the entire spectrum of agency. GEO provides counsel with the information. GEO uses a wide variety of practices to meet information. GEO can reach across multiple agencies, government across meeting, reviews the exam challenges, ways to improve the Intel Community results. GEO reviews transition names metrics to results. GEO might work with the Intel Committee to expand the number of analysis with the appropriate XD. GEO tightly controls limits dissemination results with classified work. GEO's work overall is deeply rooted in understanding authorities when examining the program and strong intelligence checks conflict. Reliable data is key to leverage that mitigates multiple flashpoints as human rights first and 11. Intelligence collection key to identifying threats and mass atrocities. Better intelligence third party enables would reveal policy to prevent the violence mapping. Will clarify connection to supply chain to be particularly susceptible to pressure. The government alone can accomplish this work. No non-governmental entity has the sufficient people and network prioritizing enables the trusting intelligence collection. Intelligence can yield high value information.
Cool. So first of all, why is the CIA conducting strikes right now?
What do you mean? Why is the CIA?
Why is the CIA conducting strikes right now?
They just are. They are. I don't know why. I don't. There's
The
latency
answer
of why
is
reasons.
that they're not under congressional oversight. Why is that?
So because they're done under Title 50, right? Yeah,
pick
they're
up.
done under Title 50.
So they're Title 50, not Title 10. We make them Title 10, and then it shifts to JSOC.
Okay, so the plan text does not fiat the shift to Title 10. The plan text just fiats a restriction in funding for Title 50 drone strikes.
So we have to wait to see if that funding affects the authority.
Not, what do you mean we have to wait to see if
Well,
it
we have to
affects?
make sure that JSOC actually will pick up these other drone strikes to see if the authority shifted, right?
Yes, I mean, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's go to your your Pakistani instability terrorism scenario,
Okay.
not the other terrorism scenario. So how exactly does a Pakistani instability lead to nuclear war?
So our PIT evidence says instability in Pakistan invites regional aggression since it's part of, because it's part of a sphere of influence of countries like China, Russia, and India. And instability in that region would spill over because of the intense religious divides, tension between the countries over things like resources,
Similarly,
water.
Your ASIN card
etc.
on Hezbollah says that any sort of nuclear terror attack will lead to a chain of events that leads to nuclear war. Can you describe those chain of events for me, please?
So our ASIN evidence first, it says a nuclear terrorist attack might be misinterpreted by states such as China, Russia, or the United States. They might assume that it was an attack by another country, and in the backdrop of tension between like China and the United States, Russia and the United States, China and Russia, they might assume or make the assumption that this was in fact done or encouraged by another country, such as, let's say, China encouraged an attack on the United States by a terrorist, and that would precipitate in resulting in a escalation to a nuclear exchange.
Okay,
is the term
cool.
that ASIN uses.
And then also, why is focusing more the CIA's efforts on Hezbollah good?
The impacts of the 1AC, I'm not exactly sure what you
Intelligence
mean exactly.
reasons? Like they need to be in intelligence. Not
So
military?
are you asking about the internal link or the impact?
The internal link.
The internal link is about improving CIA intelligence. We don't have sufficient intelligence on Hezbollah and the status quo. Refocusing the CIA from paramilitary operations to exclusively intelligence operations makes their intelligence more effective.
Okay, cool.
It's 2 off. They have a solvency page.
Did you say too often a solvency page?
Sure. And then solvency.
Would you like to stand? Or the
Six.
top? Okay.
Is everyone ready?
1 second. Sorry, I'm not here yet.
Okay. First off, Stamford County aids the interpretation and violation. Intelligence activities are commander-in-chief powers, not war powers. The plan defunds intelligence agency activities that concede in cross-examination, not military agency activities. Wall 12. The President's authority to direct intelligence activities resides in the commander-in-chief powers. The President is the sole organ of the federal government in the field of international relations power, which does not require an active Congress. The chief executive of the President may manage the business of intelligence in such a manner as brings my dictate is the same. The President may put the military to protect the national interests of the United States as it deems necessary, and first predicted within limits they regulate actions currently outside the President's war powers and their authority, and to that authority they justify the ability to make anything war power from visas to the IRS and ground and introduce anything to war powers authority that means that any restriction is a substantial restriction that kills. This has a kind of ground because we can't research classified intelligence agencies, and independently defunding isn't topical. In the case of war, there's a difference between power and authority in the President's power can't be used like when the court cannot the right to use it is authority so systemized form I-84. Congress would have the responsibility for determining when war power would be exercised. The executive to exercise its authority, but this power would derive from action taken by Congress in the absence of congressional action. Executive authority will rely on executive authority could be exercised only pursuing congressional authorization, and independently they're not substantial because the plan doesn't say how they restrict money by how much or what. Watchdog organization can't judge if there's substantial links to budget that says or tell if watchdogs are extra helpful also makes the plan within target to take and shift any time to clarify if our links even we lose to use about it for fairness and debatability and issue 4 fairness, debatability, and traditional points in reasonable isolation. The better definition will be determined by what's in the impact on debate if each interpretation is universally adopted. Next off is the critique. This year's topic is war, but you already knew that. The topic is always war. Debaters are obsessed with war. The Cold War came and went, it didn't matter. Students started running critiques, so what? Employee State united the belts with the kneecap, and we immediately voted for a war powers topic. It's a game where we cannot talk about war. But for vendors, however, war is not a game. It's a real situation that causes real trauma and kills real people, forcing debaters like Luke, my partner, and a combat veteran of the Iraq War to play your game like a civilian, erases his personal relationship with war and excludes his voice. It's time for a debate solution of soldiers to end, for us to community to welcome and affirm the voices of veterans. This debate is no longer about the plan versus task force, but about what the plan means as a model for debate. And our current national distance surrounding soldiers is a result of bias politics. Individual narratives of war swallowed in favor of a simplified version of cable consumption of the 5,000 new soldiers are solicited to act on the nation's little metric called reform again and get into the bodies of work. As a result, war rhetoric creates this into a collectively acting, unthinking body. The result, the absence of war through fear as the end byproduct of non-experienced example of how the unseen direction starts our division towards an ever-closing finale. The epistemological blindness created by this politics overcomes all social movements. Grand 7. War rhetoric always gets response to Russian short field of vision through selective images, possibly focus on the public eye warfare, and has long been facts that divergent images when enhancing capacity for an awareness of our own sorts of agency when multiple perceptions concur, it becomes difficult to start problems for these soldiers. That's when the months not all complex markers must disappear. The disparate must be concretized in our proving voice and coordination, parting outside minimalization of warfare, must restrict our sense of to an insulated field until it wasn't enough. This requires strict visual controls, completely seem to anyone defensible direct for our awkward rappers. And 3, when we listen fusion not seeing martial art, we are unable to redirect the version, we are unable to navigate our regular side director, transforms almost society field of perception director produces a blind. This is this holds the soldier hostage in decades. Civilian priests of the soldiers were his civilian desires to work before soldiers cannot subtract themselves from this entire nation. We filled up with noble cuts away physical, collective, even think about us, can't think about other bodies. One day the American media is for a photograph of the flag comments of returning soldiers, injured troops are kept outside the camps to fight the wind throughout the night. These selected images were the war rooms waged by material bodies looking becomes a condition while in the sight of visual rhetoric prevails. There's little personal war resistant doubt. It's unpatriotic and shakes hands with the devil, non-violence means unpatriotic. The rhetoric of combats become almost equal to directors, awkward, and she can never concern himself doubt. It's never extinguished, pain keeps howling through the war zone. And national level war powers that produces dissociated from their quarantine civilian military knowledge, collectivizing and discussing the military issues, race the experience of individual soldiers, and merging them into the singular identity military leadership. Stall 9. Dissociative rhetoric constructed with participation in states hospitals. So this rhetoric runs directly counter the idea that open debates necessary to keep leaders honest and guard against the misuse and abuse of the military. The rhetoric of dissociation disciplines these is, in my opinion, democratic deliberations, a heinous act of aggression to the army about a soldier to the citizen, has been quarantined from military motives. This is rhetorical as well as an institutional. The function of troops is if you sort of bring soldiers together with a leadership in one entity, even as they operate in the soldier, the discourse or raising individual soldiers, the inversion, and the effect of running our patriotic identity of all of them while walking are subjected by identification with anyone, the abstraction into troops that's boundaries that resisting distance, primary effects of company picturing the soldiers, real individual soldier body counts, and the body presence of soldiers is the key to the discussion of remotely piloted vehicles. The affirmative writes the soldier out of political thoughts subsumes the experience of the soldier entirely from mechanical assemblage of the drone, only opening up debate to the presence and experience of veterans and remedy. The affirmative is abandoned the soldier. Williams 11. There's much that can be gleaned from applying body-centered experiential approaches to uncover the specifics of how warfighters encounter combat. We can only uncover the complexities of the situation by considering the merits of military aircraft as an assemblage of one's human and machine elements to produce one competent the ability of an these preexistence. Their subordinate assemblages is key to understanding reaper operation because it enables us to acknowledge the preexistence of both the human and machine within the assemblage yet provides the ability to affect the ways in which they come together as a hybrid machine organism within the operation of the UV tower and chart room and the first to propose the different body geopolitics though would actively rewrite the everyday experience of individuals back in geopolitical events and enables the experiences of marginalized groups to be rewritten geopolitical thought was to consider how the actions of those actively engaged in fighting war generate their own microscopic geopolitical practices. And veterans feel so marginalized their identity. The last year, 22 of them committed suicide every day. They have no voice to tell their story, feeling as though they've slipped between the cracks. CNN 13. To trap in war, to be a peace, to damage, to be a war. These are the words of PDS, the words of Daniel Summers, a Rock War veteran to his life. He has a clear understanding what it's like to suffer from war. What seconds to my mind is a wasteland filled with visions of incredible horror and crippling anxiety. His own history of born combat missions since machine number Summers. Barron said it was more than just a sum of wartime injuries in V. He released the findings that 22 U.S. military veterans commit suicide every day. There's more veterans and children commit San Diego every single day. Where are the huge policy names who was in the present standing with those families that standing in opportunity to not go by single code for other by his own system? Dehumanization, neglect, and indifference as a March 8 24-hour press went out more than 28,000 veterans in named attention for a Daniel being born. It wasn't there for them. He fell through the cracks. That's the alternative. In this round, we should welcome and affirm the voices of veterans. The role of the balance of creation vote for the team that best welcomes and affirms the voice of veterans. And storytelling is the only way for returning veterans to reclaim their identities. In fact, the Sasquatch Academy songs is the voice and the experience of veterans. Explain them how race of fraternal education feel. This isn't like their nuclear war scenarios. This is real, and the way we construct our conversation about war makes our activity complicit. And veterans desperately need to reclaim their identity from moving out of the academic setting. Is a unique style for the possibility of dialogue between students, both veterans and civilians. Open discussions keep understanding our national war policy, making the alternative prerequisite to topical education more 12. The techniques used to train soldiers when combined with the trauma, victim perpetrator violence, feelings, and extreme elimination from civilian society goes in civilian schools, teachers, and supports labor roles and maintain these junctures and structures are inspired by the environment, the laws, veterans, the workers, while risking their experience in enforcing silence back with the feelings of war. At one extreme is one organization fund approach to workers at the other, and veterans responsibility and search for the privilege for hooks and classification between. Once these spatial with veterans reintegrated those around civilian life and footing, understands our major source of education for veterans needs, and narrates this we can start veteran students as heroes even when their lived experience contradicts this, which we can improve the way faculty and peers interact with veterans which wrong. Our national discussion about the wars we found on making college campuses its face with the standard can be discussed by those who come to do so. We better understand the consequences of our national policies. And first, step in understanding veterans should lead to listen to their experience and broad institutional supports needed to allow veterans to achieve the educational promise for which they paid an extraordinarily high price. And we are all morally implicated in war should be spoken of as a collective public trauma sharing. Veterans' stories is keep communalizing the grief they bear, return them into our shared civic space. The affirmative attempt to resolve the next war over there prevents us from accepting responsibility for the previous wars and trauma. We are not the heroes to be, but the accomplices of the past. Colson 12. If we think for our veterans the same way, we can maintain defense today. We'll get better and relieve ourselves of any efforts in them and competent for the church. Any diagnostic cares of social stigmatization urges them from seeking support for naturally occurring mental and emotional fatigue and rush. Additionally, rhetorics of pathology about this feeling public to want the fact that they themselves were probably implicated in acts of war is framed as a cultural trauma. However, accountability shifts down to shared blame and responsibility against relief. It requires a reframing for selective political public trauma with the combat. The experience of pathology we're free to overlook our civil obligation whether the war is part of our shared life. We are all morally implicated civilians. We can begin taking responsibility for our war by reframing the way we talk about the bodies and minds of wars in our shared civic space. Down the case today. JSOC is unaccountable, it can literally do whatever it wants, no risk of oversight. Wolf 13. And you, unaccountable power in America has the potential to shape events. JSOC completely unaccountable. U.S. assessing article with Kill it was JSOC that ran the operation behind the Navy TEAL. The SEAL team 6 they killed them one in the same model, which has far greater scope to undertake the commission of extra legal operation. JSOC operates as of the traditional chain of human reports directly to parts of the United States members of Congress will be designed to know how the patriarchy is being interpreted. The U.S. executive now has a network of secret, well secret, budget, secret kill was in a well-funded, globally deployed army of secret teams of assassins.
I got you.
And in fact, the epistle they endorses Joe DeClosa is any terrorist that come to is to put uranium in a pail and spin it around as a human centrifuge. Our authors assume their 2AC and translate to call their scholarship terror. Their rhetoric appears meant to mobilize the unseen on the wall of the disembodied soldier, Mueller and Stewart 12. Popular reaction to September 11th when would people have a greater chance of being hit by lightning than being a victim of terrorism reaction to the threat have a distinctly delusionary quality that it's delusional ratios in nations where all held to have constituted a rational process who identify terrorists in which there is a tendency to reject contradictory facts as erroneous. Any extrapolation to terrorists might construct a nuclear bomb did nothing. It appears to suggest that the time and coalition and when the money there to this approximately large trusting criminals and transporting materials and setting up shops out with top scientists all the while attracting no attention from outsiders. None of them were to have anything to do with nuclear bombing. The section is Jose Padilla. His idea was put uranium in a pail and then make himself into a human centrifuge by swinging the pail around.
Before we start crosses,
Yeah, he's giving it to you.
We need a flash drive.
And
Was that
then we can start crossovers while you
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine.
was it a Mueller card?
Yep.
The Mueller card? Okay. Yeah.
Ready?
You?
Okay. What is the distinction between commander-in-chief powers and presidential war powers?
That's what our law says. It says that sync powers are. It makes a distinction between what the affirmative does, which is intelligence operations, and military operations.
Which part of the evidence do you think makes a distinction? It just says commander-in-chief powers are X. It doesn't say.
It talks about where the authority comes from, and that deals with questions of oversight.
Okay, so it doesn't say war powers authority in the evidence. Though.
Yeah,
so
that's true, because it's talking about how Congress decides when to go to war, and that's how they regulate the president.
Yeah,
Is
so
the
President's
you're
authority
gonna,
to direct
so the evidence
intelligence
that doesn't
activities
make a
resides in
distinction
powers.
between war powers and
Look, if you want to go for the
commander-in-chief
argument that
is
because
distinction.
our interpretation doesn't say the words war power authority in it, and that it's not comparative, I mean, you can go for that argument.
Okay, that's fine. Your ID's piece of evidence. So why can't funding be a mechanism for reducing
Because our evidence
authority?
makes a distinction between authority, which is like the legal capability to do
Right.
something,
So if
and like
if
actual
funding
capability to do something.
eliminates all authority for something, does that mean it's
that's the
stoppable?
issue. It doesn't.
It
It
eliminates
doesn't
its
limit
power.
authority. Like the president would still legally have the ability to do that. He just wouldn't have the capacity to do something.
Okay.
Authority is like legal capability. Power is capacity.
Sure. Your the criticism. Your roll the ballot argument is that applicable to this debate space, this topic, or this debate around the topic, or all debates in general.
Our argument is about what's happening in this debate. We think that in this debate, when the
So
judge
in
welcomes our
only
first voice of
that
veterans-
roll the ballot claim only applies to this debate. How does the alternative or the roll the ballot claim have a spillover to other debates like
Sure,
the one
that's
happening
what I was about to
next
explain.
door?
Our argument
Okay.
is that round by round, as judges vote for us and welcome different voice of veterans with their ballot, then we can force the community to confront those things. It's also what the more evidence says, which is that when you welcome different the voice of veterans, you create discursive linkages between civilians and veterans, and that can help spill over into other debates.
So I'm confused about how the voice of veterans would be affirmed in a debate where there are individuals in the debate who aren't veterans.
that's precisely our argument, is that when we use the micro-political starting point of veterans' narratives, we can create a dialogue between civilians and veterans that's productive.
That doesn't answer my argument. How are veterans' voices affirmed in the debate over where there's not a veteran in the debate? Like,
Our argument is not about other debates where there are
but
not
you said,
veterans.
but you
round,
said,
the roll of balance says in this round.
In this round, and
I
then we can
understand
create
the roll of
change
ballot.
that would change the community in other debates.
okay. Your case argument. JSOC's accountable now. It's talking about like kill lists. What does that have to do with like the
It says that JSOC operates outside the traditional chain of command. Your 1AC advantages are predicated off the idea that JSOC would have better oversight capability in terms of Congress.
Okay.
I understand. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but it's not worded that way.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that
Stop. Correct. I have 9-12 remaining. Is that right?
I'll take your word for it. Yes.
Is the new cards you gave us called document 3?
No, it's called in this or in fact. It's not on there.
I never opened it. I'm not sure.
It's not on this. This is the one you gave us.
It's alright. It's just the Mueller card.
Just the one card, right?
Yeah, it's
And
just
it's
Yeah.
one card. That's fine.
Case TK. Are you guys ready for flash drive?
Yeah, I'm about to throw
Flash
it.
drive. Speech 2AC. Oh, sorry, it's called GSUK, but then there's a time and date stamp on it. Okay. Is everyone ready? Perfect. Yes, JSOC's more accountable. They have increased congressional oversight. They also have to report to Congress. They also have higher standards for targeted killing. Strikes me that the targeted killing is reduced their evidence. Our evidence also concedes that the CIA, that JSOC is at least more accountable than the CIA, which is all we get to it now. Our threats are real. First, our 1CA statistics that terrorists have the capabilities to acquire bomb for specificity, but also they have the capabilities, and we should within threats because threats are real. We should try to stop them. This is Allison intent insertions the most conceivable are propositions about balance, which reject systemic levels of failure, recognition, leaders, and examined the evidence, which means that it has the commission to stop the realistic recognition of threats, stereotypic corrections, and dissemination to pursue it. They've also conceded a few other impacts. First, they conceded the Pakistan advantage that the Pakistan instability spills over into Trosne, a war between China and Russia. They've also conceded that terrorists can acquire nuclear weapons from unstable Pakistan, which is independent, internal to nuclear terrorism. They have not. The nuclear weapons does not assume on the Hezbollah advantage. They've conceded that the Middle East war would escalate when Hezbollah tries to transfer weapons into Lebanon and Israel. Would not fully respond with it. Strike. They conceded that leads to extinction. Now T. First We limit the president's authority to conduct certain strikes through the CIA. I think they're mischaracterizing the affirmative. It's not restrict anything with intelligence capabilities. They only restrict the CIA's ability to conduct drone strikes as such for interpretation and authority, including the power to act or a power to conduct and conceal. It doesn't have permission to direct and coupled with the power to break and act others or the governmental empowerment and the position of certain functions. The war powers authorities, the president of the commander-in-chief authority. This is Gallagher. It doesn't allow them specific war powers authority, constitution powers, the executive authority to enact commander-in-chief and commander-in-chief powers are justified. Justifications for target killing. This is Wheeler. It says Wheeler 13. We need to look what internal council divisions to be carried out and killing the state authorities to action limited and using national laws, activities authorized or articles in the president's responsibilities as commander-in-chief to protect the country. Each individual is linked to a certain number for our interpretation still fair. They still look at all the options, but also there's no link to things. The limits arguments functional limits and extra majority of them, but also their interpretation is way over limiting. Means that there will be for us their interpretation also goes fairness means the F can never access anything based on the exercise of authority. Also their interpretation goes topic education. We've never learned about targeted killing as such only legal authority, but also we meet their eyes evidence. We are taking away power. We are taking away power from the president because he's not able to conduct these drone checks. And now this is substantial. With substantial means a great amount of worth of prices. Too substantial means considerable amount of value and like large gain plan, but also they don't define substantial means to default to this also a reasonable devote reasonable for the there's resolution basically competing interpretations only create a race in the bottom. Also there a substantial definition is impossible to make because the CAA does not really tell how many strikes they conduct and they say extra what we need. It's just the GAO is just an enforcement mechanism. It's just an enforcement mechanism of this plan, just like any other act. Also we are the only topical aspect of their interpretation because we guarantee that the plan will be enforced, will be not circumvented, which means we don't say access any of the enforcement claims. Also, if you do reason we're extra topical, just reason reject the extra topical part of the plan text, not the plan. Soldier plan. Versus framework there, discussion of veterans only is inherently bad. One is in Musa, one is E. We're not able to talk about what we were prepared to talk about. Maybe two, it's just a literature discussion moves it away from questions about whether or not the presidential war powers authority should be restricted to three, and there will be no ask ground, there's no way, there are not many ways to engage military forces within the debate community before. It's not sustainable. There are a very small number of members of the debate community who are actually soldiers. Makes the discussion impossible to have within other rounds that do not involve looting, but it's it's bad for education, destroys any topic education, which turns most of their impact things now. They don't access any spillover. They do not access any spillover complaints. It's impossible to affirm the extra choices if they are not in debate. Also, their interpretation only justifies it will lead to a stale education because we only discuss how to incorporate voices and not other aspects of the topic which are inherently good to discuss. But also, our discussion of war power through the state is key to accountability and public inquiry. The alternative only leads to disengagement. This is Miller and 13 is the nature of public debate about this. Military forces draws into I just think about wars and being social practices just wars. Think about it also continues and competitors, liberation, the high scholars to engage with the important micrographic war versus without engagement with their reality more in terms of policies. So you see that it's possible to engage with the morality terms of war. The theories must be understood. The language of the constitution, they understand the values. The language of the society forces the social critic can be held by order society to the democracy and this participation in public political debate, engaging with the reality of war requires recognition of the war constituted policy engagement and political debate are morally necessary alternative and just in case the engagement must be theories and conduct policymakers who can comment upon theories to ensure the public are informed and capable of holding the political leaders accountable. And drone warfare has created a public apathy, making a war inevitable. Only drawing in the public and military discussion is key. It's also this drawing there and drawing 13. The public is falling victim to the flux of drone warfare. The two is public involved into the foreign military policies. The effect of snowballs into the uncurrent public now and effects of the mobilized and challenge and for presidential election. When the public comes to the head of the performers, the president is free from any WPR constraints and the way we discuss our policies are good. This is Lee and 96. The delegation of nuclear weapons depends on the means within the or the action of nuclear aircraft. The minds of the who take the decisions one way to constantly remind people the horrors nuclear wars, the arguing educational capability and to the potential political destruction of nuclear and ever present. Now the alternative is not able to solve the afternoon. Don't let them make it float because then too we see often, but they don't restrain Obama's ability to conduct drone strikes. Only a legal restriction able to solve that. That's our Zako weapons, but also permutation. Do both the affirmative is key to opening up a political space by increasing transparency. Only engaging in opening up public discourse. This is a prerequisite to the alternative because the public space is already closed off as scattered in 2006. The claim that norms feel that they promise to future knowledge and discourse with the validate anything with the argumentation. You must be willing to ongoing to increase determine the intent of wrong secrecy creates a path of which operates to prevent future participants from engaging in future discourses and parents stay together with the secret policies to surely inconsistent the notions of democracy and the permutation is best. The state necessary, state action is necessary. This is Belgian. It doesn't decide that the president is the only something shall be compounded the action is crucial to rethink security by pointing out the possibilities of change, suggesting if it's practice is important to suggest the policies of the nation society and to help people practice the structural wrongs that's provided and the purpose of the only first step and removing the state of secrecy is necessary to stop threat construction of terms other impacts systems Moscow into the only cultural elections of the war. There was all these pieces of the imagery of the strategic manipulation or real sources they threats and never to see a secret governmentality, but the secret governmentality is the feature legitimate the constitution and new threats and only representing views of veterans or backs. They exclude views of other things that are affected by military policy, i.e. Civilians that are killed by drones. This is Gregory in 11. But in order to become from the matrix and socialize the constitution, the replacement of the battlefields by multi-dimensional battle spaces is now for everything becomes society and it's permanent. The role of the CIA is not a secret marks of the manipulation of the battle system. American public knows little about the convention's nature and the connection by the agency. Interests of most victims are wrapped in blankets of secrecy. All of its conspirators is little no recognition of civilian casualties. No, the violence of discrimination and proportionality. The entire world is automatically into a battleground and details best as goes into its morality is judged by the result of those intentions to the policymakers with the consequences with the main action is moral and seek solutions to minimize the harm under a correct interpretation of time, place, and process the ones that involves the political work, the practical alternatives, the substance of the thousands of thousands as a result holding the moral outcome rather than finding the way that they compromise that they avoid the bloodshed causing and really stop the violence sentiment to close the initially founded it, and we should use the academic actually and one speech acts as let's read this card. And the alternatives in discourse doesn't change policy making. This is Wall 2013 the federal school maintains the course important shaping context and duties and influence enormous literacy and how can they mean nothing but only because they should politically possible the words intend to change minds occasion, but their policies and tend to be emotions strategy and tricks and political forces with equal moments of power is more important than rhetoric and democratic skepticism is necessary to reign in war than school. It doesn't talk balance between liberty and security is not a decision, but ever expert sharing information greatly undermines sound security strategies transparency and not benefiting not merely if it points to democratic language, but also normative perspective striking European policy is crucial to consider the practicality of world security is controlled by experts placing shielding experts in democratic assessment way and conflicts with security other liberty express skepticism is not a difference national security experts that operate on the large screen the screen version realizing we are capable of making the necessary normative value judgments to the liberty and faith also the other and there's no cause for war. I prefer proximate causes over large causes, I guess. Proximate causes first.
Stop that was 15 seconds use.
Okay.
So let's talk about the critique.
Yeah.
On framework you say that our framework is bad. What is your counter interpretation?
That we should discuss war powers authority.
Okay, so how do we discuss war powers authority without including the voices of soldiers who actually execute?
Okay, our argument is not necessarily that we should not include the voices of soldiers. That is not at all our argument. Our argument is that only a discussion of veterans in the debate space is bad. Our discussion, we do not think that we should exclude Luke's story or exclude his narrative in any way.
We need to create a dialogue by using veterans' narratives as a starting point between civilians and veterans. That's not what your framework argument is talking about.
Is there a question there?
Yes. How is our more evidence, which says micropolitical starting point, create dialogue so we discuss war powers better, not the same thing that your framework argument is talking about?
Well, I guess our framework arguments are distinct because I guess your alternative is about why we should only include veterans solutions,
okay.
I guess.
That's fine.
And if
So
that starting point occurs in the debate.
Let's talk about
That's
this
what your
Meller
words.
evidence.
Sorry, the what evidence?
Meller says we need to confront the reality of war. This is actually a fantastic piece of negative evidence. How do scholars who are removed from war confront the reality of war not through the people actually fighting?
I would disagree that the Meller evidence is negative evidence. It says we need to, as policymakers, discuss war, but it also says as public civilians, we need to...
So how do you confront the reality of war when the 1AC talks about these escalation scenarios that I guess just happened?
I don't know where you're getting the idea that our Meller evidence says we need to confront the reality of war. Our Meller evidence says that we need to confront the reality that the president has extreme war powers authority now, and that the public accountability is key to check those powers.
Okay, then Let's talk about this drug evidence. This says that there's a civilian-military cultural gap that makes the public apathetic about drone strikes. So, how does the 1AC better engage with the military to solve this civilian-military cultural gap?
Yeah, it's a good question. Our link to this is the plan increases transparency of the drone programs. The public is able to interrogate that program.
Why
Our
does the
Zenko
public care if there's a gap between the civilian-military cultures?
Well, it's not necessarily there's a gap between civilian and military cultures. It says that the public does not care about things such as drone strikes because they don't have access to that information. And that's our internal link to that.
How does the public figure out the way drone strikes go down if we don't hear from the soldiers who actually execute the drone strikes?
Well, they still can hear from the soldiers. I think it's our next piece of evidence says that it's impossible to hear from soldiers now because the public space has been closed off, i.e. they are not allowed to share their stories because the program has to be
your argument is that
covert.
Soldiers are not allowed to share their stories, and then as the key internal link to all of your secrecy evidence, when the alternative is about sharing soldier stories.
No, we have lots of internal links. I think you're simplifying this way too much. But our next piece, what I was describing, our next piece of evidence indicates that. Do you want to keep talking?
If you want to.
Yeah, our next piece of evidence indicates that the public sphere has been closed off and soldiers are literally not able to share their stories under the law because the program is classified as covert. So even if you're right that they should care about drone strikes and soldiers should share their stories about drone strikes, they literally cannot.
framework?
Do you want those points?
Yeah, here. Oh, sorry, we just reset through.
It's fine.
And
Go
that's
ahead.
I'm really sorry.
Everybody
It's fine. I can't perfectly grab it.
When the orange glow shot over my turret, I ducked my head, and in time it took for me to hit my radar call out, "Contact!" I heard the boom. Instantly, my gut dropped to my boots. I caught my breath, and I was on my gun looking for Trigger Man. That orange glow was part of an EFP, or explosively formed projectile. Imagine a coffee can packed with explosives and topped with a copper plate. That copper plate shoots out as a molten slug, as hot as lava that penetrates every bit of armor the Army has. Our job in Iraq was to find roadside bombs and avoid thinking about what would happen if they found us first. After what seemed like an eternity after the bomb detonated, the vehicle behind me called up and said the bomb had detonated, but by a stroke of luck, it was aimed too low and they were okay. Instantly, my gut filled with rage, and I looked for something to shoot. Anything, anyone. That truck was my truck, my team, my best buddies, and I can't explain to you how I went from reading the Gavin in debate to nearly brazenly firing on an innocent village a year later. But in case that wasn't disorienting enough, imagine returning to the activity you once loved and called home to find your relationship with it had changed fundamentally. I was a debater before I experienced war and tried to return to debate after, but I tried to disguise my identity purposely, not wearing my dog tag or camo backpacks. We must embrace an ethic of trust with our veterans, creating an environment that is safe for them to debate in. That's a more 12-card argument is simple. Debate has the power to be transformed into space for two reasons. First, to heal the trauma of pathologized veterans by allowing them a place to tell their story that's more in Carlton below the alternative. And second, to have more educational discussions about war and debate by changing the way we discuss war in our activity, which is Engels and Says 13 and Stall 9. Gut check. We're not policymakers. We only have our discourse in this round. They don't read a single defense of why their discourse is good, only that discourse doesn't come first. That means that they lose the round when they have no normative defense of their discourse. Speaking of, let's go to framework. They have no interpretation for framework until the cross-examination, which means that you're going to extend across the world about it, and this debate the world about is credit should vote for the team that's best welcomes and affirms the voice of the veteran. You should prefer this because when we're resolutional in a direction on the topic, you can't engage in traditional policy debate or research without implicitly including veterans. They concede a couple key arguments from the topic they critique first. It doesn't matter about the resolution. Debate's always about war, so thinking that you can debate on the war powers topic in particular without talking about veterans is another link into our argument, and it also proves that we don't kill debate and solve their offense. For example, the literature discussion, and there's no F ground. We're always going to run the same war scenarios because debate is always about war, and so and also they say that we decrease topic education. We're bad for education, but if policy options are good, we're a prerequisite to effective policy making. First, my narrative proves that status quo policy discussions can't understand the reality of war. It's not an event; it's experience. War isn't force structure, but being prepared to end the lives of other human beings. And second, support the troops rhetoric from the critique proves that it crushes political dialogue, leading to passivity and submission to executive power. That's Stahl 09 and Brown 06. It proves that we're a prerequisite to effective policy discussion, and academic evidence is incapable of providing real-world education, specifically only incorporating the voice of the soldier solves this independently key to effective policymaking down to Emergency 12. To formulate effective policy, we view military personnel as important. Their presence allows soldiers to take advantage of particular knowledge by experiencing critical matters such as war, their availability, increase the number, increase the likelihood of reaching the best policies. While soldiers have a direct experience with the armed forces, as such military personnel offer unique perspective and along with practice-oriented education, where students are exposed to real-world aspects of their studies. Academics and knowledge is different from those with military expertise. Those with military expertise offers a distinctive perspective on war compared to purely academic orientation. You can go ahead and group all of their state good arguments like Miller 13, Cole 12, Walt 13, Marco 2, Milken 05. All of these, the problem is they didn't diversify their arguments. They read 5 cards that were all about engaging the state's good. That might be true, but if you engage the state in a way that is epistemologically flawed, you will lose this round because your discourse is all you have, and you don't have a normative defense for your discourse. There's an epistemological dissent on framework first. This is the grand argument from the 1NC. Grand proves they inevitably reproduce by shielding the image of the body of the soldier. Listen, Grand talks about how the Bush administration was successful in leading us down the rabbit hole of war in Iraq because he shielded the images of broken bodies of soldiers from those returning from war. He made the planes land at night so people couldn't take pictures. He refused to show the images of the flag-draped coffins. Acknowledging the pain of combat alone is key to refiguring how we conceive of war and debate and in their policy making. They say that drone warfare leads to inevitable war, but this is the shielding of the body of the soldier and the pain of combat which leads to inevitable war making. And they're going to say that interrogating the executive is good and increasing transparency is good. Well, guess what? You didn't answer the argument that deliberation is dead now. That's Stahl 9 and Brown 6. That's the soldiers are used by the executive to shut down debate. That means even if they win a link to their interrogation and deliberation arguments, there's no impact to these arguments, and they can never solve. The interrogation of the executive does nothing when he can still use soldiers as a political tool to shut down this debate. Let's go to the link debate. I don't have a single no link on this page. Do you? All they try to go for is a link term that solving drone warfare is good, and that increasing discussions and transparency is good. But this is problematic because, first of all, they don't have a defense for their simulation of war. Look, war is not a simulation to me. It's a simulation to them. It's a real thing for some people. Treating it as an event that we can simulate where veterans are present creates a vision of war that is not only hostile in its naivety, but their experts also crowd out my voice. Look, this is what Mooreswell was talking about, creating discursive linkages within our own academic spaces. This is particularly important in cross-sects when they try to set up by saying, hey, look, what about every other round? And every other round you can simulate because people that have actually experienced war aren't there. When someone has actually experienced war, you shouldn't simulate by saying like, oh, well, everything just happens and then all of a sudden we're dead because of nuclear war. That's not the way it happens, and it's offensive to me to say that. Second of all, they can see the war event extend Ingalls and SAS 13. War is not some future finale that we have yet to engage in. We're constructing it right now in this space. Their discourse instructed it. In fact, look at their ACE and 10 card. Nuclear terrorism could precipitate a chain of events leading to a massive exchange of nuclear weapons. Wow, it must be nice for the world of the affirmative that's what war means to them. It's just a chain of events where bodies are all of a sudden dead. That's not what war means to me. It's the interrogation of the deepest, darkest emotions that human beings can feel, and it's that bodied experience that leads to a better understanding of war. You can never know how the chain happens, just as some actors decide that it does. This understanding of war as a series of events rather than experiences kills its education, creates serious policy failure, and excludes veterans, and proves our argument on framework why you need us before engaging the state. Second of all, we're turning their miscalculation arguments, all of their internal links to war assume miscalculation at the bottom level. States will miscalculate or individual commanders will miscalculate. They are epistemologically hindered in understanding the actions of individuals by focusing on a top-down approach. They say macro is good and you can't focus on the micro. This is all their state good arguments, but you have to understand who pushes the button, why the commander lashes out at the individual level before you can understand why miscalculation happens. In fact, specifically, they say drone warfare is inevitable. Decrease in drone warfare is good. The drone is disembodied in the world of the affirmative, a thing to be regulated, not a technology that is piloted. Look, this is the Carlton 12 argument. Continually focusing on the future and how we can stop future wars prevents us from communalizing grief for the past right now, in this very second, and in the war so far. The Air Force pilots, CIA pilots that pilot these drones from Florida and elsewhere get a PTSD from the images that they watch without recognizing that. Here's a version of the app that doesn't link. They could have said, "Hey, we should decrease drone strikes because that leads to PTSD," and that would be good. They say that it leads to inevitable war, but drones are just the current manifestation of the way to remove the body of the soldier even further. This is the grand card, right? Drones are literally disembodied soldiers, the apparatuses of those soldiers. So in a world where we can use drones to manage the images of pain even less, that's a world where they can never solve for going to war because those tools that go to war are still there. Let's talk about the perm. I only have one perm, and it's a perm do both. They literally, this argument makes no sense. First of all, because in the context of grants, they are inevitably reproduced by showing the soldier, but specifically there's a sequencing argument. You cannot do both in a world where we are structurally excluded. The arguments that they conceded. First of all, veterans' narratives are key to communalize grief and force the nation to recognize the reality of war. Genevieve 13. Storytelling can express grief on national levels. Narrative is a critical first step in the communalization of grief with the Vietnam War. It's not until stories begin to be told they can be in a communal recognition of what happened when a soldier experienced war. Is the narrative to speak. He cannot heal for veterans. Narrative can serve as a bridge between military and civilian communities. This is the argument that Moore is making, that we must bridge these gaps. And second of all, their turn to expertism and these state good arguments that we should engage the state. The critique turns the case there. Experts drown out the voices of those who actually are on the ground, leading to zero policy failure and inevitable miscalculation. Look, this is specifically true in evidence where it makes us into a scapegoat, Ayeho 13. Soldiers' testimonies are included as personal supplements in terms of discourse set by experts. Mainstream news reveal an image of veterans and passive victims. Soldiers' experiences function as supplemental discussion set by those with authority to explain reality. Soldiers are capable of exerting no power over decisions. The experience does not apply to the discussion of war policy. Soldiers are regulated to personalizing it, making us feel a reality. Others have already told us soldiers are viewed as significant, yet as individuals they wield little authority, a key feature of the scapegoat. And in fact, the only offense they have on the alternative is this Gregory card, which is completely not applicable. They say that we exclude civilians, but they have a disembodied view of war where everyone is suddenly dead. If you want to know what the pain is like for a civilian to engage in war, perhaps you should privilege those stories that actually talk about the pain of combat, actually talk about the trial of that. They say no root cause to war. Understanding the root cause, understanding how war processes, you're right, there is no root cause because it's not an event to be stopped. It's an experience. The soldier must feel that they are accepted and heard before the communalization of grief can begin. Inspect 12. Reintegration of returning soldiers would involve sharing experience. Veterans engage in narration with feedback of civil society. The audience participates in learning grief and energies of war brought home. The importance not only that the veteran tells this story, but he experiences being heard. The public platform is necessary to sort of get past and become part of the community's collective history. That means all the links are just set to the permanent world where any link excludes my story from feeling like I am heard. The perm can't solve. Yep.
question is, why is the liberation dead? Is it because we are just not, we're refusing to acknowledge these images? Is that why?
No, actually, these are the arguments you can see in the 2AC. First of all, the Stahl card is pretty good on this, that it creates dissociative rhetoric where only military people can speak and only civilians just don't know anything. There's also the factor of the
Okay,
matter.
why is that? Why is that distinction been created
Sure.
where only military are able to speak and civilians don't know anything? Isn't it because of things like laws? Like the military isn't able to speak about these things because of covert laws? Or covert authority laws?
No, actually, the military covert action, you said the military doesn't do covert action because JSOC has oversight. So second of all, only the CIA does. CIA is not military. Second of all, the military is able to speak, but they aren't able to speak because their stories get co-opted and used to shut down debate.
Okay.
So a good example of this is the yellow ribbon magnet. It's like, support our troops. What does that even mean? But it's just like, if you don't support the war, you don't support our troops.
Okay, well, my
Troops
next...
is an abstract, not an individual.
Yeah, of course. My next question is, so there are drone operators under the CIA. How are they supposed to share their stories if those stories are inherently titled as covert now?
Well, first of all, I would imagine in a world of the alternative, if a drone operator came in right now, he'd probably be like, yeah, you should think of war differently because you just think it's a disembodied. That's not the way it works. Somebody actually pilots that shit.
Okay, that doesn't really answer... Okay, sorry.
Yes. Second of all, the CIA members, they might not be able to tell their story. They might have statutory limitations on whether they
So
can
how
tell
does
their
the
story.
alternative overcome that and allow their voices to be included? Your alternative seems to be leading to include all soldier voices.
Nope, not all soldier voices. In this round, you should welcome them from the voices of veterans. The voice of the veteran in this round is me and my story. I can't speak for CIA people or what they went through. They might or might not be veterans of war. And in a future world, if they come in, that's cool. If
Fair
they
enough.
don't, whatever.
Fair enough. How should I've obviously never been involved in a war.
Sure.
How should I discuss it?
Well, first of all, by reconceptualizing that you've never been involved in a war. You're involved in a war right now. You just constructed war in this round. Second of all, you live in a society that sends people to war. You're also thereby communalized in that war. That's
Okay,
the
but I have not
culture.
been involved in the physical war on the ground.
Yeah, that's true. There's qualitative
Yeah,
different
yeah.
experience in
Of
how
course.
we experience war. That's true. One of the ways you can do that is to create discursive linkages, like Moore talks about, by setting up a scenario where veterans feel comfortable and safe to tell their stories and are heard telling their stories.
Okay, what about the 1AC preventing veterans from feeling comfortable? I understand that there are links about how we, I guess, prevent the discussion of
Yeah, so first of
war,
all,
but-
your war powers at the executive level, which once again gets merged upward and it's a top-down approach, that's bad. Second of all, you respond to the United States, second of all, you envision war as an event that needs to be stopped in a futuristic frame. That prevents us talking about the things that we went through previously when we're constantly worried about
why
what's
are
in the
those two
future.
mutually exclusive? Why can't we both discuss both bottom-up and top-down approaches, or why can't we discuss the second thing you
Sure,
said, too?
because this urgency, this is exactly the frame that is used by the executive to shut down debate over with future wars. They're like, well, we got to say this so then we can get to the soldiers eventually. We have to stop the wars in the future. There will always be more wars in the future. We have to recognize grief first.
So the order is going to be solvency then topicality, if I can get it. There it is. So solvency then topicality. Is everyone ready? I'll take the silence.
Yes.
Alright. It's all good. Oh, it's going to two implications of the case. Well, first is that if we win that JSOC doesn't have any congressional oversight, then that turns our pinches and means that you should vote. Negative presumption is the second implication of the case was that if we prove that they don't understand war and that their representation declared terror are wrong, then that is epistemological. Just another epistemological link to the critique because it proves that they don't understand the way we're actually happening. Now let's talk about the JSOC arguments. They are just factually incorrect about whether or not JSOC is under congressional oversight. Our 1C was fantastic. It indicates that JSOC operates out in a separate chain of command and reports directly to the president. It talks about things like the Osama bin Laden operation, how the Congress didn't have any oversight over that build-up process, that intelligence gathering process, which means that JSOC doesn't actually have congressional oversight. There wouldn't see evidence their side. It concludes that JSOC is supposed to report to the Congress, but it doesn't actually in the status quo, which means that they brought two pieces of evidence for us on this question. All their arguments are not responsive because they're just factually inaccurate. Now the Mueller argument. Their only arguments that their Einstein evidence talks about statistics, but our Mueller evidence concludes that that's factually inaccurate because the fact that terrorist groups have delegated a total of $2,000 per year to research nuclear weapons. I don't know about you, but nuclear weapons probably more. It's probably more expensive than that. It also cites things like it being too difficult to get all the personnel together to actually create a nuclear bomb. The next argument is going to escalate is an epistemology link. Our Mueller evidence concludes that these scholars don't actually understand war because they're too removed. They're too focused on statistics, like their Einstein evidence. And as a result, it doesn't understand the reality felt by boots on the ground. They read a piece of opposite evidence that says that we have to try to stop threats are real. This evidence isn't specific to nuclear terrorism, which means that we use still functionally conceding epistemology link now the Tom County debate. Our argument is that there's a distinction between intelligence operations and military operations only, and only military operations are topical. They concede a couple of reasons for this interpretation. First, it's predictability. If you expand the topic to talk about intelligence agencies, that massively splits the topic. Also, heals our ability to research and compare because all our links in the one in C are predicated off of the understanding of the military. They get to know we can talk about safety secrecy because of the fact that they are focusing on CIA intelligence operations rather than executive war making. They've also conceded our ground argument when you focus intelligence agencies are classified, which means that we can't get good research on them, which means that there's literally no way for us to prepare a case neg against this affirmative. If you don't like the one and C strategy, that's probably a reason to vote for us on Tom County because of the fact that we couldn't get links to the app. Now that we mean to be. The 1AC Zinco evidence proves the violation of the plan shifts drone strikes from CIA control, which are intelligence operations, to DOD control, which are military operations. Their 1AC evidence literally proves the distinction for us. They've also conceded our wall evidence, which indicates that there's a distinction between military operations and intelligence operations. Their Gallagher evidence says that what is topical are sync powers. Okay. But sync powers are the way the president executes war. Intelligence operations are different from military operations, which is our argument. Which means that they have read an interpretation for us. And command structure determines whether something is military intelligence changing. Title 50 affirms affects an intelligence activity, not a war activity. Wall 12. Title 50 directs the president to ensure that the congressional intelligence committees are kept informed. Yet there is no definition of the term intelligence activities. The intelligence committee includes elements from the CIA, the Department of State, the Department of Treasury, the Department of Energy, and DD. Some of the elements of DD are also members of the intelligence committee. The distinction between intelligence activities and nearly obviate the question is whether the activity is being conducted in response to the asking for the DNI of the Second Defense Intelligence Activities. One, conducted by an element of the intelligence committee, and second, in response to tasking for the DNI of the activities conducted by a DoD element of the intelligence committee. Then it should be considered military operation. Now, the counter interpretation, they say that we still get all our offbeats and already explained above as to why our 1C strategy is predicated off of your understanding of the military. Wow, that's annoying. It's predicated off of your understanding of the military, and you get to know what kind of. They say there's no internal link to I've dealt with that, but they say overwhelmingly, but you should prefer stable negative ground because the fact that there is structural bias in the affirmative independent crowd. They say topical education, but we keep the topic education is the fact that we focus on executive war making authority and not random intelligence activities. Now go to the IDES evidence. You can send our IDES evidence, which indicates that power there's a distinction between power and authority. Power is a capability to do something, whereas authority is the legal right to do it. They say that they take away the president's power. This is factually inaccurate. They just restrict the president's capability to do something. Example of this would be plan give Obama Ambien. He would fall asleep and he wouldn't be able to order drone strikes, right? That's a restriction on his capability to do something, which is power, rather than his authority to do something, which means that they massively split the topic. There's also a textuality argument that they've conceded. We should focus on a textual reading of the resolution. Our IDES evidence is pretty fantastic on how there's a distinction between powers and authority, which means that textuality is the basis for a pre-round card. We look at the resolution, we say, what is war, powers, authority? What's the distinction between those two things? Then we create card based off that. Now the reasonability debate. They say the reasonability because this is an actual argument. All our interpretation and violation arguments are reasons why you are in fact not reasonable. Also, reasonability would cause judgment intervention because I don't know what you consider reasonable. I don't know what, and that's probably different than what I myself consider reasonable. Which means that this is just a gut check argument. There's no way for us to determine what you feel is reasonable. And there has been actual abuse in this debate. They give their Hezbollah advantage off of shifting CIA intelligence operations. Proves that they make the topic bidirectional, massively explosive limits. Makes it harder to get ground because CIA activities are likely classified there. Next to arguments that they're the only top left under our interpretation. This is literally incoherent. It's one sentence, which means that they need to explain it. And Luke will answer in the 2R if they decide to make this an actual argument. They say they should reject the part of the plan that is not topical, but no, the entirety of the plan is not. Not only is the entirety of the plan not topical, that's for a violation. But they committed actual abuse in this debate, which means it's not just a top county question; it's a what happened in this debate question.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, how much do we have left?
Yeah,
Neither of us-
okay, right, it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, neither of us were timing.
Yeah,
That's why both of us were. Oh, okay. Can I have the flash drive, please?
There's a lecture right next to you.
Yeah, on there. On that. Okay, I can see order while she's opening it. Okay. Case T, the critique.
Hey, Neil, you sure you saved down here?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Yes. Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, this is worse. Sorry.
There we go. Here's also your flash drive.
What's it titled?
Speech 1 hour versus GS.
Yeah. There we go.
No link to any of the turns case or evidence case files. The circuit benchmarking first geo audits also provides oversight of JSOC operations, ensures proper funding is asserted in the necessary location. The second plan increases oversight of operation because it forces congressional oversight to the transfer to JSOC. That's the same piece of evidence that nuclear terrorism is a threat. The potential of it occurring is a post 9/11 reality. Means we need to develop effective solutions or to respond to it because that's by recognizing that it's an actual threat to the else in evidence goes conceded on the topicality debate. We meet the plan is a decrease in military operations, not a decrease in intelligence operations. They have no evidence that targeted killing is intelligence operations. Additionally, the plan text determines the topic-related debates, intel versus military. There's no explicit explanation by the 1NR about the affirmative intelligence operation. Just because we have an advantage about intelligence operations doesn't mean the entire affirmative predicts intelligence operations. It's in fact a trade-off advantage, which proves the argument that we are a trade-off of paramilitary operations conducted by the CIA in the status quo. Additionally, no link to the limits or ground is that now we saw predictable limits too, because we are better at it because the affirmative interpretation is about targeted killing. That's a resolutional basis because it's explicitly listed in the resolution. Now, extent or counter-interpretation, commander-in-chief powers are vested in the executive. Now, commander-in-chief powers justify targeted killing policies. That's a targeted killing interpretation that proves we're a military operation. Now, there's a negative side bias in the status quo. Coaches cut case that additionally get the wiki. Additionally, open source allows us to prepare before the debate. Now, they say we saw topic education better. No, our interpretations about target killing, that is in the topic. They say now extent or interpretation authority is the power to the act. We give Obama Ambien forever. He restricts Obama's power to do targeted killing in its entirety. The restriction scope of funding is internal. Now, reasonability is best there. Community interpretation leads to race about hybrid generic debates about topicality forces. Debates over topicality is supposed to substance now and predictably outweighs now CIA's intelligence operations. Now, the extra topicality means reinforcement. The restriction must be enforced in Bolton 5. It is not include discouraging words, increased restriction words, maybe ultimately unenforceable discoursing language is built hostilities, not a restriction. The rules might is a restriction. Additionally, they did not answer the evidence that a restriction enforcement mechanism is just like any other statutory legislation, which proves it's part of the topic, not extra topical. Extra topicality additionally increases the ground, gives them more background. Probably reason that good and worse is the reason you should reject the extra topical parts of the plan, not to team, not the criticism.
Or anything else, Anthony?
Yeah, say we don't fiat a shift to the DoD.
We don't fiat a shift to the DoD at criticism.
Two problems with it. The discourse index. First, you consider a terrorism discourse pro-diet about how threats are real. Second, you consider that discourse doesn't shape reality. Or Walt evidence is explicit. The things that are more important that determine the action and legislative outcomes is the power. It's not rhetoric. Rhetoric ultimately has no determination of that or influence in policy making. The framework arguments. Our argument is not that you should adhere to a specific framework. We just believe we should get the way the AF 2 reasons. First, AF discussion is the session. After discussion is essential. Second, they move the entirety after on when they shift the question of the debate later on. Now, additionally, we have impact turn their framework against veterans. Discussion is bad. First, most important first reason, at least, is still education because of the finite amount of veteran resources conceded. Truancy argument. Second is AFRON. This is based on a blanket omission. There are an infinite number of things they could say is the most important thing in this debate round. Doesn't necessarily mean that we'd be able to cover all of it in the want to see additionally the framework. No spillover arguments. He wasn't able to coherently explain in the want to see cross-sects how their framework for this debate means people engage in the veterans' voices later on in the debate now, in the debate over, or in debates future, or later on. Additionally, their interpretation of framework is not sustainable because it does not continue later on. They're in a double bind. Either it's not sustainable, or there is no spillover arguments. Now the academic sphere arguments. The academic sphere arguments state we need to combine theory with policymaking education. Their exclusive focus on theory makes it impossible to access any policymaking education. When you combine the two, that is the only way to foster real-world change throughout the state. That's our Meller piece of evidence. Now the sequencing arguments about academic sphere, they have it the other way around. That's going to be on the permutation. Now they say Bush shielded images of war, but they're shielding images of civilians that are killed in the wars of secrecy in the status quo. Deliberation arguments functionally conceded. He said no uniqueness to deliberation. Doesn't make any sense. They follow product deliberation because they don't open up the public sphere away from secrecy, which the plan text solves. Now we could use this academic space to discuss avoid extinction as reason 3. Within a few years, nuclear weapons generate nuclear or humankind must sort extinction. We survive only collective suppression for personal fears. Talk about the complementary wisdom. Long humans are shielded. Must look closely at the higher education in the United States face the future in the world system. Get by mandate through sensitivity. Our leaders are unprepared to deal with catastrophic deterioration. Survival impaired scholars universities take the great risk to attention themselves to disarm the preoccupation of the facts and favor grappling. What's your laugh from the ocean? Students must be made aware we are heading as species when limited survival alternatives may yet be discovered. Market discovery answers any of the arguments about how war simulation is bad. Now the permutation. Now no reason we need to have a topical version of the affirmative. We know there's no burden set. Now the permutation arguments. First is the sequencing data set. We internally turn the sequencing data set because we unveil the veil of secrecy that closes off the public sphere in the status quo. Second, we have protected all our expert methods. Why we need a combination of two. That's the best way to solve the permutation. Now the narratives link. We can incorporate narratives if we are not veterans of war. That's an impossible burden to meet for the affirmative. Now the net benefit to the permutation is the state engagement. Good arguments. He only pointed out that we have state engagement. Good offense. Answer none of it. State engagement is essential. Is the only way to create real world policy making, which means the permutation is prerequisite internal in terms of any of the offense. Now he conceded utilitarian calculus outweighs, and he conceded the threat construction in the status quo by the state solves any terminal impacts to the criticism.
case, then an overview on the critique, and then proper. It's just going to be quick on topicality. If you want to forward it on this solvency page, you can. It's up to you. All right, everybody ready? We will win. You can vote negative on presumption right now. They said that they'll vote on topicality was their last answer. This is where the mess. They said that they do not fiat a shift to the DoD. That means there's no chance that they can change the regulations of the oversight structure right now, currently as it's constructed within JSON. Speaking of that, let's read the last line of our JSON card. The Rule 14 is the U.S. executive now has a network of secret law, secret budget, secret kill lists, and a well-funded, globally deployed army of secret teams of assassins. And they say that they solve circumvention by creating oversight available by shifting that oversight. They would get on the top of they said that they do not shift any, they do not fiat any oversight at all. JSON, all of their arguments about why secrecy is happening now and how JSON could participate as well cannot overcome the secrecy that already exists within JSON. That means that all of their arguments are the arguments about secrecy, and the link terms are trying to go for secrecy on the case flow cannot solve. That also means that they cannot do, and they also don't solve their intelligence gathering in a world where this secrecy still exists. They don't solve circumvention. The executive will always lead to World War strikes, overburdening the executive agencies, and they don't increase in the oversight. That's their argument on topicality. They do not fiat it. Don't let them stand up here and say it's effective plan. Let's go to the critique. Thank God for the woman on the end of my call at 3 a.m. on a Monday night. I woke to the sound of a gunshot bolting up on my bed in my apartment. I grabbed the pistol like he floated by my pillow to check the door. I noticed my dog was still asleep though. Was it all in my head? Was I going crazy? As I tried to research my problem online, I became more and more paranoid. Did I hear something in the door? Did I lock the door? What if someone came in the house? What if it was a gunshot? I didn't know where to turn. How could I burden those that I love with the feelings of anxiety and guilt that I was experiencing? As I frantically searched online for a way to calm down, I came across a veteran's hotline and called. As the woman answered, I spilled out all that I was holding in. I returned from a war zone just months before, unable to make sense of the world. I found myself enshrouded in academia in a combat zone. Luckily, she listened. That's all I needed was for someone to listen to my story, and I survived the night. That's more than others like me can say. Nearly every hour a veteran commits suicide. That's CNN 13. Their final thoughts are fear, sadness, anger, and guilt. They just need someone to listen and affirm the fact that they have a right to exist. We will win this round because, first of all, we are winning a large majority of frameworks. Second of all, we have 100% risk of solvency that the firm cannot affect. If we win any case defenses, a reason to vote for the critique because they didn't have a method to engage how the debate structure works within this round. They have no in-round questioning. And third, conceded disadvantages and permutation results in exclusion of vendors. The critique is an impact term to their state good arguments. Let's go to framework first. I'm going to line by line his arguments. First, she says that they have two defenses of their they have three defenses of their discourse. First, that threats are real. Their threats are real arguments are about the subjectivity, and we didn't read Terror Talk. Look, all right, it's not about the discourse that they used when they constructed those threats, the epistemology that they're endorsing when they constructed those threats. It's saying that the threats subjectively really exist within the world, and we should analyze them. That's not a choice for the way that you've constructed your impact scenarios. Second, they say the discourse doesn't always line up with reality, but you must determine what reality is, and that's our conceded downstream mergers being 12 argument. We'll get to that more later. But their only other argument is that they read a nuke reps bad or nuke reps good card in the 1AR. Cool. Like, even if your nuclear reps are good, we proved on the link debate that was conceded on miscal that they do not understand how miscalculation happens because they can never understand a soldier that pushes the button out of frustration because he can't get in touch because communication has been shut down through an attack, right? Like that's the way miscal happens. They have no conceptualization of that. Even in the world of their discourse on nuke reps, they have a bad discourse. You should reject them. Finally, they concede that policymaking argument. Downstream mergers being resolve their discourse of reality of false dichotomy. Look, you must understand reality before you can engage in that discourse, and that is the argument we're making. That we are key to policymaking. Military members have a unique perspective they get to exchange and to create reality with to help you understand your reality. But in order to do that, you must create discursive linkages. Speaking of discursive linkages, let's go to. I'm sorry, there's one more thing that I have to address here. First of all, he says that we must combine theory and policymaking, but extend my analysis from above. You must understand reality before you do that in policymaking. He says that we decrease deliberation. Deliberation is not dead. This is the Stalinite and the Brown 6 card, right? Deliberation is dead because the executive will inevitably use soldiers in the status quo to shut down debate. True, your policymaking skills might mean something in the future, but they don't mean something in the future of a world where you're just concerned about war, and the executive controls the internal link to how we go to war. The executive will always do that. They need you to have the portable skills to speak of, the deliberative skills to speak of from your interpretation. There's no chance of stale education because the debate's always about war. So veterans are always present, even if we choose not to talk about them. Let's go to the firm. I have only a few answers on the front. First of all, they say that academic space is key to talking about academic space is key to avoid extinction, and that we should that solves the sequencing question. But first of all, sequencing and the narrative must come first to communalize grief. That's the Genevieve's evidence about how communalization of grief with Vietnam didn't happen until the Vietnam Memorial was built, and we couldn't understood our policies and how those policies also failed. This is also a question of the Carlton Carl, that welcoming people and having their voices be heard is the internal link to creating this communalization force we can better understand it. They say they solve sequencing by solving secrecy, but once again, extended my analysis on case, they don't solve secrecy. JSOC is just a secret. They have no mechanism for resolving that secrecy. They say that we should combine it because state engagement is good. They conceded expertism, our expertism in offense, extended across the Yahoo 13, that when you provide experts in the round and try to say that state engagement is good, we must listen to those state experts. That overwhelms the value of the narrative, and not only that, but it regulates them to just a position of like, tell us how war was in your personal experience. Then we'll go back to discussing how war really is in our expert experience. This is why you must privilege the voices of veterans first. Uzbek impacts this by saying if the veteran does not feel heard, if the veteran does not feel heard, it doesn't mean anything. They try to get offense on our methodology of how we construct debate by saying we can't have narratives about war. That's just another link into pathology. They've constructed war in the 1AC. We should change the way that we talk about war by making this a space to be more inclusive of veterans. That not only makes better policy making to interact with their framework, but also brings populations so they can heal their trauma into debate.
We have 608. Is that what you said? Perfect. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Case, or T case, okay. Right. Is everyone ready? Yeah, you first. He says we don't get a ship that's not essential to any of our internal. It's not essential to any of our internal links. None of our internal links are predicated on the DoD taking over drone strikes only. And all of our internal links are predicated on the CIA using drone strikes are bad. So just take out any of the affirmative now. Now in case the JSON fragment, the JSON is counterbalance ankle evidence as well as the correct reference everything to it. AC indicates that the CIA is extremely unaccountable because they have no congressional oversight and they have no congressional oversight and they have no oversight in general. We just have to win that the DoD is at least a little bit more accountable than the CIA to solve any of our secret terms. They've also conceded they plan fiat and increase in transparency because the GAO is able to audit the budget, which means that and share more information, which means that we should win at least that we increase some transparency, at least sufficient enough to solve the link terms now. Crazy. Framer first. First real cards are responsive for first Allison Evans should we see Allison Evans indicates that the nuclear terroristic threat is a threat that we should respond to. It is about the scenario we construct because it's saying that terrorists have the capabilities to acquire bombs. He's also not answered the direct evidence that Neil reason the 1 hour indicates that the way in which we construct nuclear impacts in academic space is good. Academic space specifically is good because it creates a form of call to action, which is necessary to respond discourse discourse is not a shape of reality. Discourse is not shape of reality. It is about it's not about rhetoric. It's about but it's about actions. Our Walt's evidence. I think our Walt's evidence says that the only thing that shapes anything that has the capability to shape reality is the pressures we apply and the actions we physically take, which means the speech act the speech act as such does not matter. Now he has conceded a couple reasons as to why his framework is necessarily bad. Ace point is he has conceded that they lead to a bad form of education because we are only able to discuss veterans in the veterans narratives, which means you're limiting out the rest of the topic. We're limiting out the rest of the topic, i.e. discussion about Derby killing. He's also conceded that his interpretation is bad for background because there are an infinite number of things that we can be prepared that they can say like first it's impossible to prepare for those things, but his point is there's not necessarily a spill. There's not necessarily a spillover which implicates alternative solvency because there's not going to be a spillover for two reasons. One is you saying your opponent's not actually do anything, but two is that there are not veterans in other debates, which makes it impossible to have these discussions. Which is the reason is not sustainable for debate. Our interpretation of framework is that we should be able to weigh the plan and discuss the plan implementations, which means that if we win this, then you have to with the affirmative. He's conceded that you tell them first. He's conceded that the active restriction, which means that you can easily vote on case. You can easily vote on case out waves. Permutation, I guess. Permutation. There's no coherent reason as to why we can't do more than cross-ex. He said a cross-ex he called for a bridge between civilian and the military. That is exactly what the permutation is. The permutation allows us to encompass the views of a soldier within the spaces, but also allows us to discuss the plan implementation. But also, he's functionally conceded that we are opening up a better political space between removing the veil of secrecy that is preventing soldiers from speaking as such and is preventing them from sharing their stories, which means that even if soldiers want to share their stories, they are simply unable to because the political space has been closed off by the military and the CIA. And we are also stopping the shielding of soldiers because the only reason soldiers are being sealed now because the executive does not want the public to know what is actually going on. This is all of our government. This is a prerequisite. This is a prerequisite to the alternative. Because it's physically impossible for them to effectively share their stories now for other soldiers to share their stories. It's a sequencing descent. There's also no link to the sequencing descent. There's no reason that we can't simultaneously do both at the same time. He makes a miscount. It's the only link okay, I have explained about our constructions of war, but the first thing miscalculating doesn't apply. Our Barrett's evidence indicates that the reasons that war, or first we don't have any miscalc scenarios, so not really sure why this link would necessarily apply, but also our Barrett's evidence indicates that the constructions of war we have are good. That was all above, but also we are also committing all of the roles of valid and alternative claims, which means that there's no risk we don't solve the definition of the purpose system is the state engagement good arguments. We shouldn't engage in the state is key to checking presidential war power. The point is necessary to foster cooperation of political churches and state and still to make them carry out. This is our Miller, Cole, and Dawson evidence. Now they say experts have just said even if they would link to the impact the experts said they can see the 1 year the Democratic skepticism argument only the affirmative increases transparency. That's the best way to engage the executive. The affirmative uses people as a method to detect the firm shields and the efforts they call for greater transparency from the executive in the context of drone strikes. The app removes the barriers and screens, and we make decisions to operate behind now. Yeah, the affirmative is a prerequisite to the alternative.
What's y'all's initials?
MB.
MD?
Yeah.
Which one is the word? Okay, so I'll give you some comments and then explain how I voted the way I did. The 2NR, I think you go for the wrong thing. You should go for T, ability, capacity is not the same as authority. I think you're winning that toxicology argument. Despite the fact that I think you went for the wrong thing, I still voted negative on the critique. There were some framing issues that I thought were important. The role of the ballot in their eyes is to welcome or affirm the voices of veterans. Whoever best affirms that should win. They have some net benefits to this, like storytelling is good, academic evidence or expertism is bad, that non-veterans don't really understand the experiences that veterans have in war, which is critical to understand when talking about war or making really important decisions about war. That we need to accept responsibility for past wars, and that we don't pass policies, so it is about speech acts and what happens in the round. The permutation. I thought the perm is possible, like it is not mutually exclusive, but it doesn't include storytelling. It still does include academic expert evidence. I don't think you can combine the storytelling approaches because they're not your stories. I'm not sure if you can co-opt theirs. The discourse doesn't shape reality argument. I think the negative answers is with we are not policymakers, so only what we say in the debate matters. The discussion had in debates about war powers authority would benefit from veterans' voices. UTIL is conceded, maybe, but you don't extend impacts to the 1AC and the 1AR. So what impact should I consider under UTIL framework? UTIL is conceded even to a person like me who is tech over truth. I would still need 1 to 2 sentences to say who is the author for UTIL evidence, what are the warrants in that evidence, and what are the impacts that I am voting for under a utilitarian framework. I was really sure that I was going to vote AF before the 2AR because I think the negative concedes AF choice the whole time. I think I would default to an affirmative framework and the critique would go away since it is status quo or competitive policy option, and you would get to weigh the app even if there is a possibility of diminished solvency that I would have to read cards for. So app choice is conceded the whole debate. It is a questionable argument. There are some really easy arguments that you can make, like that would justify affirmatives doing really racist, sexist, homophobic things. But it is conceded that the app should just get to pick the framework because they are app and don't want the 1AC to be mooted. but I don't think that was in the 2AR, so I couldn't vote on that. The link of omission argument is also compelling, but since I felt it was new in the 1AR, I didn't decide to evaluate it. One other thing on the framework part of the debate is I think the act characterization of only veteran voices or only veteran education is a little misleading because they're not exclusively a veterans only thoughts on war. I think they just want to welcome the opinion of veterans to share opinions and stories about war first to help ordinary non-veterans in the government or in a policymaker role or citizens to understand what war is before making decisions about war and war power. They aren't exclusively reading only his narrative, so I think it's not only veteran voice. I think that's a mischaracterization of what their framework is. So the last argument that I'll discuss is the spillover argument. I don't know, neither side really debates this well, I guess, but I do have reasons at least why discussions including veterans' voices are important in debates with veterans in them, and that veterans are always present, so we should incorporate / welcome the opinions of veterans in debates. I'm not sure if that will eventually spill over to the government, but based on the framework discussion, I do have reasons why this in-round discussion is important, and discussions in debates, including those voices, are important. It's unclear why round 4 at the tournament is important, but I mean, you could be more clear about that. Good debaters emulate winning arguments. If you keep winning, people will listen. My ballot will lead to discussion with other coaches, but you should be better on the question of or else will spill over to the debate community and the real world to make changes in the government eventually. That's why I voted the way that I did. If you have questions, I'll answer them now. The only really stylistic things that I had to say was I thought that you could distinguish better between card and tags in the 1NC. And it was really the most unclear on the case out of all the positions.
Can I ask a question? What would be a better way to explain the perm within the 2AR to, I guess, avoid kind of these storytelling this as an expert?
I think what you have earlier in the debate about, well, we aren't veterans, so we don't have stories really to share. Would it be okay if we had other people's stories that were veterans to share? Or could the permutation combine the stories that he already shared? Maybe you could assert that your perm includes his discussions and his narrative. I don't know. I think the better perm might be permutation do the plan and the alt in all other instances. Why is this round key is a good question. Why is your plan still a bad idea? Why is your plan a bad idea? See what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's a better perm than perm do both in this case.
One more question.
Oh, you can ask them.
So, since the cross-ex said characterize the necessity of veterans' voices, like you said on the framework debate, that it's not just exclusive about veterans' voices, it's about bridging the gap between veteran and civilian voices. How effective would it have been to characterize the permutation as a bridge between veteran and civilian voices, since we present the civilian voices of those like impacted by drone strikes and like unveil the bail of seat or seat, etc.? Would that have been a compelling permutation argument in the 2-year?
I think it's fine. That's fine, but you would still need some response to academic evidence. Expertism is bad, and the questions about whether storytelling is good or important, and whether, since we don't pass policies, it's only the Speech Act that matters.
Okay, and so when did we lose the tools in order to win the permutation? Was that concessions from the 1NC or concessions from the block, or like would we have been able to have the authority? Yeah.
There's no answer to academic evidence, expertism bad in the 1AR.
Okay.
That's important. There's really not a discussion of is storytelling good or bad, or do you need storytelling to access the perm ever?
Okay.
And yeah, those two are.
Okay.
what you need.
I have one quick question. Should I have gone to the entire T violation proper, or should I have just used the mentality authority?
No, I think what you're doing in the 1NR is fine, but I think the part that you're winning is the ability capacity is not the same as authority.
And we have some pretty good stuff on textuality, and release and ability plans or not. My only question was, when I went to case, it sort of was about case solvency, but I was just trying to shield myself from their link terms about opening up space because of secrecy. Did that make sense the way I went to case to try to do it there, or should I have just, or did I explain it too much in terms of like case can't solve? Because I was just trying to get away from the link terms for the complete.
I didn't really see the utility of going to case.
Okay.
The only utility I saw was to answer you feel is good.
Right.
So if they had some diminished solvency.
Sure. Okay.
Can I ask another question? So do you think more compelling to our given this debate would have just been framework util we have an app? Or I mean,
Like
if
I
that's
said, you're winning app choice.
I have a question about T. Why would T have been a better option? Is it because we don't have a good interpretation of authority, or that that authority is funding?
Yeah, I think they're debating better that, look, you get rid of his ability, like technological ability or whatever, and his capacity to act, but that's not prohibiting him or getting rid of his authority to actually act.
Okay.
So I think they're on the side of truth there a little bit.
do you think there's a way we could frame the app to sound more topical or
No, I think you're doing what you should be with reasonability. I don't know why you snuck so many different key violations.
Joe Bellin wrote the show, and I got it like 3 minutes before the debate. So I realized as I was reading it that there were like 3 embedded T violations.
Yeah.
Easy talk about that. That's over the top.
Thank you.